Okay, friends, here is a quick lesson on your summary and paraphrase. Um, in your class, I have posted a document. This is one that I use with my freshmen, but I think would be beneficial to you guys. Um, Note here on this assignment that I do not require you to actually physically complete this. There is parts in there where you can actually write things down. I don't expect you to do that. I would expect that you read through it and get an idea. So as we just look through this quick, I'll kind of show you. This is based on a research paper they're doing, but I think the principles will work the same. And I'll show you a better example after this. But this is an article about recycling. So you guys might use this especially for like an article from something about your topic. So if you're not just using quotes, you can use an article. I put in here that you want to ask what's the main idea of the text or this quote, what are the significant details that we're seeing, okay? And that would be something that you would use for a summary. And then there's a practice part. You can, do your practice here if you want, but I do want it to be put onto this document, okay? There's also what if I cut some of this off? There should also be a paraphrase practice. I think I might have cut myself a little bit short on there, guys. Sorry. Okay, well, I will just show you what I did here. This might be a little bit easier. Okay, so when we talk about a summary, the reason I'm having you guys do this is because I don't want your paper to be chock full of just quotes. I mean, you can have like little ones, but I don't want your whole paper to be, okay, so here are my 8 to 10 quotes, and I'm just going to throw them in the paper as is. Like, that's not what I want. You can do that for some of them if it's really good, but sometimes you look at a quote and you can get the idea without having to use every single word, okay? So I'll show you guys later how to break that up a little bit. So with in-text citation, parenthetical citation, I'll show you a little more of that there. But for here, I think it would be beneficial for you to do this with some of your quotes, especially maybe ones that you wouldn't expect to use probably the whole of it. So the main idea is, in this short quote, I'll just read it to you. It says, George said wonderingly, suppose there was a carnival or a circus come to town or a ball game. We'd just go to her. We wouldn't ask nobody if we could. Just say, we'll go to her, and we'd go. Just milk the cow and sling some grain to the chickens and go to her. Okay, so the main idea about this, to me, is George is talking about, in the bigger context, if they had their own land, they wouldn't have to be beholden to any employer. Like if they didn't want to work one day, they could kind of get done what they wanted to and then go. In their current condition, they can't do that. You have to work all this time, and they don't get a say. If they just want to take a day off, that's not a thing. They would probably end up being fired for that. Okay, so I would say, now in a summary, you don't want to do it exactly how the wording is. So I would say in one instance, to Lenny about being a landowner, he reminisces, spelled that wrong, spell check, nope, there we go, reminisces about being free to come and go as he pleases. For example, if a fair I might have spelled that wrong. I am a bad speller, guys, if you didn't know that about me already. Fair came to town, or sporting event. Anyone, if they could go. Okay, now in this case I haven't really done much analysis here. This is just kind of a summary of the main components that this text says. So I give a context. So I say in one instance where George was talking to Lenny about being a landowner, he reminisces about being free to come and go as he pleases. So that introduces what this quote is. So the context, it's not like in its own vacuum. I say, for example, if a fair came to town or a sporting event, they wouldn't have to ask anyone if they could go. They would just be free to do so. In their current situation, they wouldn't be allowed to take a day off. Okay, it's not great what I did there, but okay. Now, this one I did not put a page number on, and I didn't see what it was, so I'm just going to pretend that this was on page 45 of the text. Now, you want to put the real page number. Okay. Now, even though I'm doing a summary and I didn't use any direct quote from this, I would still want to put page 45 because I'm using an example from the text. Okay, so I'll be looking for that. If you're discussing things that happen, you need to do a proper citation. So you don't need to do Steinbeck unless it's like your first time talking about it. So Steinbeck 45. Or if it's another author, you put their last name, and if there's no page number, just the last name. Okay, so hopefully that much makes sense. Okay, now if you want to do this as a paraphrase, okay, a paraphrase is a little bit different than a summary because I took the main idea, which is they're free to come and go as they please. I didn't put in a lot of the details, but a paraphrase is nice because that is like a summary, but it's about as long as the actual thing, and you actually put in the key ideas. So I said here, for instance, okay, George says this whole spiel about being free to come and go as they please and feed the cows and chickens. All right, so there's my original. I want to use some keywords from this passage, and this might seem a little bit trickier from, the get-go when we look at this, because especially if it's dialogue. Okay, so maybe something that stands out is a carnival or a circus, okay, a ball game. Let's see, cow. Okay, so I'm going to space these out just a little bit. Okay, those are things that kind of stand out to me. Now, if I'm going to use these particular details, okay, I might look at some synonyms that might fit a little bit better. Now, sometimes you're not going to find a suitable synonym. I think you could say affair and a fair and be just fine. Or if you really wanted to, you could keep part of that quote as part of it. And a good trick that you can do for this is type in your word and then type in synonyms. I do this all the time. Okay. Okay, so like a festival, jamboree, holiday, celebration, party, parade, procession. Not all these are going to fit explicitly, but maybe a festival would be a good word we could use. I gotta find where I left off here. There we go. Okay, festival might work. Okay, it might change the context a little bit, but that's just kind of an idea. So maybe I kind of like this word a little bit better. You don't have to highlight it, but I just wrote some ideas here. Okay, a ball game. You could simplify that and just say a sporting event. I said that previously. Cow and sing some grain to the chickens. I would just say feed the farm animals. Okay, you see what I did? Okay, so in this, now for my paraphrase, I would give the context again, so maybe I'll just copy this again. Okay, so in one instance where George was talking to Lenny about being a landowner, he reminisces about being free to come and go as he pleases. For example, he says, if a festival or I wouldn't normally do this, but you can use little parts of it as a quote in your paraphrase, and that's fine. Circus or a sporting event came to town, they wouldn't have to ask anybody. They could just feed their farm animals, and they could go to the event. Okay, this again, it's a paraphrase, and I put it there. Okay, I'm just going to pretend again this is on page 45. I don't know for sure. Okay, make sure it's within the period every time. Now, some people ask, do I have to do it right by the quote? No. If you have a train of thought and the paraphrase is all part of like this one quote, then put it at the very end where you're done with your thought. And then this is where I would start doing my analysis of why that was significant. Okay, so I hope that you guys can see the difference between these two. So summary, you take the key idea and you just write about it. Paraphrase, you use more of the details. And again, you can do stuff where you actually quote little parts of it, little pieces, and we'll do some practice. I'll show you how to do some of that later, but let's see, I think that's all that we are currently doing this week, so I will put a pin in this for now, but hopefully that is helpful to you guys. If you have questions, ask me, but yeah, we'll start with that.